Okay. Only science, natural sciences, natural sciences. Okay. Since this is a class, we will not be doing writing part. Normally, in other classes, we do the writing part. So I believe those who are from political science, they can more easily cope up, and those who finds any difficulty, just let us know, we'll help you out. The next thing is political science is what? A very conceptual subject. Otherwise also, the demand of UPSC exam is different from your academics exam. Here, you don't have to study much, read much, but you have to understand a lot, because you will be in executive. The idea is application of the concepts. So application will require that you understand the themes. So not lot of importance of facts, but lot of importance of concepts. Political science, the core of the political science is political theory only. Okay. And maybe those who are from science background, they may find few initial classes very abstract and vague as to what is happening. Okay. So be prepared for that. But gradually you will start loving the subject. And in political science, how can you excel? What is the key? The key is your command over terminologies. So what should be your preparation strategy, revision strategy? So every day in the class, whatever terms you find, like I will talk about classics, I will talk about some term, socialism, hermeneutics, political science, philosophy. So if a person is clear with the concepts, with the terminology, you can write answer. So lot many discussion, like in political science or in humanities, it is always good to know lot of background story for connectivity, because if we do not know the background story, we may not be able to put the things in context. So you have to know the things in context, as well as in the exam you will have to apply. Normally there are questions straight away from the notes or the test series, but still we should be prepared for the worst. Means all questions in your language, the bouncer question, but it never happened. But in case it happens, you should have enough idea to solve. And in humanities, there is no right answer, there is no left answer, right? It is always correct answer and meaningful answer. So in UPSC, don't worry for ornamentation of your answer. Like there is a myth in IR, you will get a lot of marks if you will quote thinkers, but it is a myth, because if you cannot quote thinkers in the context, it will appear that you have mug up the things and you have not understood the thing. And let no thinker dominate you. Always in exam as well as in life, keep yourself at the center. Fine. So being egoist is not bad. Fine. You should develop the attitude. That attitude will help you in managing the uncertainties. You are going to become prince, not common man. You should have an attitude of the prince. Your way of looking at the things have to be different from the ordinary Tom, Dick and Harry. You should not get troubled with what troubles an ordinary person. So whenever any challenge comes, be in exam or otherwise, always think, am I thinking like an ordinary person getting troubled, or I am thinking like the prince? Means, am I thinking like Bismarck? Am I thinking like Gandhi? Because if you will not develop that personality, this exam is personality exam. That's why I always tell my students, like before exam, you stop studying also. Just navigate the exam through your confidence. But important thing is that you should be very, like, your communication skill has to be very clear. Understand the question, deconstruct it, write only what is needed. Don't write the stories, because if you will write the stories, another myth is whatever pages you have to fill. That is a very wrong attitude we developed since our university exams. Don't think they pay, it pays, it doesn't pay. So brevity is the soul of wit. More precise you are, more intelligent you are, and you don't become precise just like that. You need lot of thinking. So what is the two mantras? First, have confidence, be positive, be a man who thinks, who has critical thinking, and patience. So only those qualities are required, not studying Plato from Ebenstein or Sabine is not required. Okay, so bilkul non-academic, common man approach. Okay, and I always suggest have different colors pen, so that suppose some concept is there, you can understand it. If I name any book, you can use a pen. If I name any thinker, so that in the end it will help you in revision. Go for mental revision, because Plato and Socrates is like we are discussing with each other. So don't get scared. Don't get overpowered by anybody. Whether it is Socrates, oh, long time back, we are more smart than Socrates. So don't get overpowered by anybody. Keep yourself at the center. Just enjoy the journey. That is more important. Every year UPSC asks this essay. Life is a journey, not destination. So what is required for UPSC? Even if you see any question paper, you will understand. If you see essay paper, you will understand. Okay. So now, since I will not be dictating in the class, you can write side by side. But between writing and understanding, you should focus on understanding. In case you feel you are missing, then miss writing, because you are having the notes. Okay, so no extra books, etc., etc. We don't have to study too much. We have to think a lot, and you have to balance between your optional and general studies and static and current. So study less. This is a time of minimalism, not maximalism. Don't study everything. Leave some space that shows your ability to take risk. And risk taking capacity is key to success in exam and life, because majority will not take the risk. Fine. So what is special in you, you have to find out. And every day you have to think good about yourself. Like, this makes me special, this makes me special. Make a diary, because even when you go to the interview, they ask you to introduce yourself. Then how do you introduce? Not what you are. You basically introduce what you are rather than who you are. Fine. So what you are means what are your degrees, what is your name, what is your district and all. But what is important is who you are, because every person is very unique. But to be able to answer, you have to know yourself. Fine. And with this, the philosophy also begins, that Socrates says, know thyself. The more we know our strengths and weaknesses, and more we have clarity of goals, I don't think any problem comes in achievement of your goals. And if you remain confused, if you remain underconfident, ambiguous, and if you keep on questioning your ability, then definitely some ghost fears will start emerging. Okay. So to stay away from the ghost fears, stay away from the myths. Life is to enjoy, just enjoy that. Fine. And you are lucky that you have an opportunity to study. There are many people who don't get opportunity even to study. This itself is a blessing. Have a gratitude and let us start. So I will start with political theory. First, I will explain. Listen to that. Fine. I will explain 2-3 times. Just let that concept be in your mind. Okay. So how to develop the conceptual clarity means how you are going to write answer. Only when you have language. Fine. And every subject has its language. You study economics, you should know GNP, NI, GDP and others. So similarly, political science also has its terminologies. And the purpose of studying political theory is command over terminologies. So terminologies are comprising of two things. One is the language and another is a concept. Right? In the language of literature, we call it signifier and signified. Fine. So something is signified like democracy, and the language. Something is, we are using the language. The language is democracy. So the term, you should be clear, you are signifying what and through what. Fine. So that is the key. That is the key to revision. Each day you go home, make a list of terminology. And initially students remain very over enthusiastic, but many lose the battle within 1 month. Fine. Then you get excuses that you will study online, you will do this, that, and excuses and excuses. So whatever you don't feel like doing, if you do, then only you are overcoming your limitations. So it's a battle where you have to overcome, and from a common man, you become what? Superman. UPSC expects us to be Superman. We should know from economics to ethics to science to history. So your journey of becoming Superman starts now. Right? So the first thing in the syllabus you should begin with is the study of political thought. Now, what is the significance of political thought? And actually, we are going to start with Western political thought. We are not starting with Eastern. We are starting with Western. Why? Because people in the East do not have language. We are not having language. We have something in our constitution by which the Indian state deals with religious diversity. Right? But for that something, we use the term secularism. But secularism is a Western term. So when this term is used in Indian context, it creates lot of problems. Some people will say, how come we are secular when there is no strict separation between religion and state? Some may say, how come we are secular when all states are not given equal treatment? How come we are secular when, unlike Britain or France, we don't have uniform civil code? So the problem is our language is Western. Okay, through Western we will understand our ideas also. So we don't have our language. You knew this? We are voiceless people. Right? Because we are voiceless, so we are powerless. We have not created our literature. We have not created our own knowledge system. And India is a country of paradoxes. The paradox is when the government tries to establish and emphasize on the Indian knowledge system, okay, we are the first one to resist rather than the colonial powers. We don't like anything about ourselves. Is it true? We don't like ourselves. We actually hate ourselves. So do you know that people in the East, they are very frustrated people. Fine? We are frustrated. Because we are frustrated, there is so much violence in the third world. So violence is a reflection of our frustration. And why are we frustrated? Because we do not like ourselves. Fine? We do not like our skin. That is the first thing, because it is not white. Fine? So we have this double consciousness. When we see ourselves in the mirror, we want to look white with the blue eyes and the golden hair. And we are utterly unsuccessful despite spending a lot of money. So what is the end? The end is we are frustrated. Because we are frustrated, this frustration gets reflected somewhere. The frustration that gets reflected in the violence culture we have, whether it is interpersonal relationship or governance. Okay. So what is India? India continues to be the post-colonial state. Okay. And colonialism has not ended yet. So its form has changed. So we have mental colonialism. Fine. Is the problem of mental health increasing in India? Because as colonialism means capitalism will increase, mental problems are going to increase, because we will have lot of syndrome that we are not like this, we are not like this, we do not possess this, we do not possess this. So all will end up. The biggest politics is done through the game of language. Fine. So language plays the game. Who says so? Language आपने सोचा आपकी भाषा आपके साथ खेल खेलती है? सबसे ज्यादा खेल भाषा खेलती है. If you tell somebody you are foolish, you are foolish, you are foolish, after some time he will start thinking like that. And if you say to somebody you can do it, you can do it, that person start developing that reality. So the language develops a reality, and language is power. That is why if you have a command over language, means you speak and people understand. You speak and you can influence. Fine. So things will get changed. Even in 21st century, we study the speeches of Ambedkar, Nehru and all, because we keep on reminding or remembering the quotations and statements, means they are still dominating our mind, and therefore you should also develop language. It requires reading, but not substandard current affairs magazine, which is very harmful, not useful, because it will kill your thinking. You will think knowledge is only facts. You will not get the background story. And when something is very simple, we don't apply our mind. So at least read paper, newspaper. Okay. So I am going to start the Western political thought, because only through the Western ideas we can even understand the Eastern ideas. So, can I say political science is a Eurocentric discipline? Right? So, what is political science? Eurocentric. They can ask this question, what do you mean by political science as a Eurocentric discipline? So it basically means its terms, concepts, they are all based on the European history. For example, what is sovereignty? What is nation? Everything, what is a state? We don't have our own definitions. We have Western definitions. Do you understand this? Fine. So political science is Eurocentric, and therefore we are starting with the Western thought. Fine. So if you want, you can write side by side. With this speed, you can write whatever you find. So now we have to deconstruct each and every word. So the simplest here is political. Just like you have economic thought, sociological thought, geographical thought, similarly, you have political thought. So if I ask you, political thought is about what? What is political thought? Political thought pertains to political system. Okay. So when we study in political thought, what are we going to study? So traditionally, scholars like Garner, okay, describes political science begins and ends with the state. Okay. Who says so? Garner says that political science begins and ends with the state. So what is a state? A state represents power. So what do you study in political science? So political science, writes scholars like Laswell, the study of shaping and sharing of power. Okay. So what exactly are you going to study here? Power. Who has power? What are the sources of power? What are different ways of power? And those who have power, they are a state. What is a state? सरकार. ठीक है, सरकार मतलब who has power. Fine. So don't give those GS definitions: territory, population, government, and sovereignty. So state, a state represent power. Fine. So in political science, we are going to study the thought about power. Now, in political science, there are certain terms, and often students may remain confused. So, first is political thought. Political theory, political ideology, and political philosophy. So they can ask this question: how do you distinguish among these concepts? There can also be a question: how far it is appropriate to call political science science? Is it a scientific discipline? No. When the people from science are saying so, means it is scientific, because they know what is science. We don't know, but you are from science. So how is political science science? What is science? कोई भी चीज को. So there is no research in philosophy. Is philosophy science? Is philosophy science? Okay, but do you think it's a unambiguous definition? People understand that science is understanding things based on research. You are okay with this definition, or you have some other? You have. Science is practical study. Practical study is the arts, not science. Forget. So, can political science be called science? So, we should know what is science. No. Data. Is physics science? Chemistry science? Right? Once upon a time, political science was also science, and Aristotle was known as, is known as father of political science. The issue is the terms, their meanings keep on changing. So in our world, there is nothing static. Everything is evolving. So if somebody asks, what is science? You have to ask the context. Do you want me to answer science the way people in ancient Greece understood, or in present time? Fine. So in life, always remember, never give answer. Rather, confuse the other person. ठीक है? आपका पर्पस क्या होना चाहिए? आंसर नहीं देना है, उसको दूसरे क्वेश्चन में उलझा देना है. ठीक है? जैसे ही पूछे साइंस, तो पूछो कब की बात बताऊं, तो वो पूछेगा कब कब की पता है, तो कह दो ईस्ट वेस्ट नॉर्थ साउथ एंशिएंट मेडिवल मॉडर्न, बोलेगा बस बस बस. फाइन. सो वन आर्ट to be successful in life and politics is you have to be master of rhetorics. Right? The moment you will answer, you will get trapped. So throw the question back. Right? Let the art is always, art of communication is confuse the other party. Not, and the art of living is make life of other person difficult so that your own life is easy. ठीक है? तो हमेशा ऐसे कैसे होना चाहिए? शातिर दिमाग. You have to be clever like fox, brave like lion. लोगों को सोचने दो. तुम पीएम हाउस में बैठो, ठीक है, दूसरे के हाथ में कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन पकड़ा दो और उसको गली गली घूमने दो, है ना? ये पॉलिटिक्स नहीं है. मतलब अगर मान लो पीएम एक्सप्लेन करने बैठ गए, तो राहुल जी सड़क पे नहीं जाएंगे. सड़क पे नहीं जाएंगे. अब जैसे आप सड़क पे जाओगे तो आप और कंफ्यूज हो जाओगे. आपका एजेंडा कुछ और होगा, करने कुछ और लगोगे. तो कभी भी यू मस्ट बी थिंकिंग, व्हाई पीएम नेवर स्पीक्स ऑन मणिपुर? Why he never speaks? Because no politician speaks. Because the moment you will speak, you will be caught. The more you will, if you will not speak, nobody will catch you. So art is either don't speak or speak nonsense. Fine? Or speak something else. Never give a person something which that person wants. उसके साथ खेल खेलना है आपको. ठीक है? खेल लोगे खेल. सामने वाला जो चाहता है वही नहीं करना है, उसको घुमाते रहना है. Because if you will do what a person in front wants, then you become follower. Fine? But a leader never listens to anybody. Okay, what makes a person leader is a strong personality. So even when you become a collector, whosoever comes to your office, don't speak. कह देना फाइल पहुंच जाएगी आपके घर. ठीक है? बोलना नहीं है. बोलोगे तो पकड़े जाओगे. फाइन. कुछ और पूछने लगो, और आपके घर इमरती कैसी बनती है ना? You have to talk nonsense, that is politics. And मास्टर ऑफ रेटोरिक्स. कोई कुछ पूछे, तुम कुछ और पूछो. ओके? जैसे ही वो पूछे कि भाई मनरेगा का कितना पैसा आया, कहाँ से है? इस जिले से. अच्छा, वहां का क्या चीज फेमस है? अब वो उसमें ही खो जाएगा अगर उसको कंट्रोल नहीं होगा. ठीक है? तो यही है पॉलिटिक्स. कुछ और बोलना है. मास्टर ऑफ रेटोरिक्स. दिस इज व्हाट इज रिक्वायर्ड to be successful anywhere. Okay, so anyway, now I was explaining science. So we can go for the etymological origin of this term. How this term has come into existence. उसको कुछ और ही समझाने लगो, हाई फाई चीज एकदम इम्प्रेस कर दोगे, फिर सोच के पूछेगा क्वेश्चन. ठीक है, तो क्या है etymological origin. What is etymological? How this word came into existence. ठीक है, history of this word. So the word science comes from the Greek word episteme. From episteme comes science, and episteme means knowledge. Political science is science because it is giving you knowledge about political life. So if somebody asks you this question, is political science science? Just say, well, it depends how you understand science. Fine. If we go for etymological origin of this word, then this comes from episteme, and episteme means knowledge. Fine. So it is a special knowledge about the political world that makes it science. Fine. So now you know two words, political, second is science. So now we have to understand what is thought, or what do we study in thought. इतना आ रहा है आपको समझ में? ठीक है. एक्चुअली में कोई डिफरेंस नहीं. ठीक है. There is no real difference in practical sense, but for academic purposes we make some technical differences. So whether you study Marx philosophy or Marx theory or Marx ideology or Marx thought, it is one and the same thing. Means in practical sense no difference, but in academic sense there is a difference. Fine. So because in academics we are using these terms in a specific manner. Okay. So let us begin with philosophy. Okay. So now what is philosophy? You know philosophy. There are two terms, philosophy and ideology. So philosophy, philo means love, and Sophia means knowledge. Who is a philosopher who has a love for knowledge, who goes in search of knowledge? Can we call Buddha as a philosopher? Fine. He may not be political philosopher, that can be debated, but he is a philosopher, means love for knowledge. Now, the question is, what is knowledge? Is any knowledge knowledge? Do you have the concept? The moment somebody asks, you can ask counter question. So philosophy is about questioning. Even when you write philosophical essays, you have to raise questions, right? So what are the questions? So now the next is knowledge. How do you define knowledge? Is any knowledge knowledge? So no, there can be illusion of knowledge. So how will you define what is knowledge for you? Is any teacher teacher? Huh? Any teacher is teacher? No. Fine. That is why any knowledge is not knowledge. Any doctor is not doctor. Fine. Just because you have a degree does not mean you become doctor if you cannot cure. Fine. So what is your own conception of knowledge? Have you ever thought this is knowledge? Which knowledge is knowledge? When will you say it is knowledge? Something which you can prove. Anything that you can prove is knowledge. साइंस वाले बिल्कुल तैयारी करके आए. हाँ? What? 2 plus 2 is 4, not necessary. We are saying so because there are many things which we are not witnessing. हाँ, तो मैथ्स इज नॉट साइंस. मैथ्स का वो लेवल थोड़ी जो पॉलिटिकल साइंस का है. पॉलिटिकल साइंस इज कॉल्ड मास्टर साइंस. सारे साइंटिस्ट धरे के धरे रह जाएंगे जब पॉलिटिकल साइंस वाले लोग आएंगे. ठीक है, क्योंकि दुनिया झूठ की है, साइंस वाले झूठ बोल नहीं पाएंगे. आप झूठ बोल नहीं पाएंगे तो उनको कोई इंपॉर्टेंस देगा नहीं. ठीक है, पॉलिटिकल साइंस के ही लोग क्यों सिलेक्ट होते हैं? क्योंकि उनका काम है स्टेट में. और क्या मतलब आपको क्या करना है? तो आपको लोगों को कन्विंस करके जाना है कि बहुत ही अच्छी फिलॉसफी, बहुत ही अच्छी पॉलिसी है, सब बढ़िया चल रहा है. कोई भी तुम्हारे ऑफिस में आया, उसको ये कहना है हम आएंगे, कल ही आएंगे, देखेंगे और भगाना है. ठीक है. और साइंस वाले लोग बेचारे भोले वाले ऐसी दुनिया से अनजान लैब में रहते हैं. तो दैट इज नॉट नॉलेज. मतलब होगी काम की नहीं. तो मतलब होगी, आई डोंट. एनीवे, सो philosophy, what is knowledge? Okay. यूजफुल नहीं. किसी को आंसर देना नहीं है. मैंने पहले फर्स्ट रूल बताया. जैसे ही मैंने कहा what is knowledge, what question you can throw on me? Which knowledge? What knowledge? Fine. Should I tell knowledge on the basis of purpose of knowledge, the content of knowledge? 5-6 चीजें एक्स्ट्रा डाल दो. ठीक है. Then you can say, well, I will define. Always emphasize on yourself. Emphasize that you are a strong personality. Fine. Well, I define that knowledge is knowledge which gives me confidence. Fine. So which gives me sense of confidence and nobody can shake me. Fine. So I will differentiate. What is philosophy? Philosophy is differentiating between ambiguous knowledge and clarity. Philosophy is trying to know the essence of something. That essence is also called concept. So often in our language, we use the words in a very vague manner. Okay, we call it philosophy, we call it science, because we are not confident. So what is the purpose of philosophy? When you will study philosophy, the purpose is, let us say Plato will go for defining what is justice. What is the essence of justice? Should we use justice just like that? Just because Supreme Court has delivered any judgment, but whether the court has done justice or not. Right? So define your parameter. How are you going to define knowledge? So this was just my thinking that if I have a knowledge, it is giving me confidence. It is giving me sense of well-being. So if you know something, you feel good, fine, and let these definitions come from inside. You feel it. What happens when you get knowledge? You feel good. When you can solve any question, you feel good. So for you, what is knowledge? A source of well-being. Fine. What is knowledge? Sense of empowerment. So what is knowledge? Capacity building. Fine. So it gives you confidence, whatever, but try to personalize it. What you feel. You have to be an original thinker. Like suppose there is, like, you have studied something, but when you see the question, you are unable to solve it. Means you were assuming that you are knowing, but actually you were not knowing. So you will know something only when you can solve the question correctly. And knowledge will always require patience. It will not come so easy. Otherwise, everybody will become knowledgeable. Everybody is not supposed to become knowledgeable because everyone is not supposed to rule. Right? So those who are knowledgeable, they have to maintain this privilege. You have to stop. You don't have to encourage people to know. It will be much better if you keep people in darkness. No? Am I right? So I'll change the fundamentals of your life. Okay. So knowledge is, for me, it is empowerment, but power is a zero-sum game. Right? So I should get the sense of well-being, or it is up to you. You can define in any other way. So when you go home, try to define. So I have defined knowledge with the purpose, and my purpose is gaining knowledge means empowerment, and power is giving me sense of well-being. It is giving me capacity. It is adding to my capacity. Okay, so that is knowledge. This is how Amartya Sen explained where a state should invest in the capacity building of the people. But does a state invest? No, because if people will start questioning, then it will be difficult for politicians. The state will collapse. Right? The state wants you to watch reels. Right? That's why they give so much discount. They go for digital penetration. They provided geo in your hands so that you are busy in geo. And geo, जियो मेरे बच्चे जियो, स्टेट है लो, ये लो जियो और बेटा रील देखो. यू अंडरस्टैंडिंग दिस? सेल्फी विद डॉटर, सेल्फी विद दिस, सेल्फी खींचते रहो. ठीक है? तो नॉलेज क्या है? सेल्फी है. सेल्फी विद डॉटर. दिस इज हाउ वुमेन एम्पावरमेंट हैपेंस इन पॉलिटिक्स. ठीक है? तो टेक्नोलॉजी इज one of the biggest enemy of knowledge. Okay, so right now, technological domination, and this technological domination has converted us from human into mass. So we all are mass. Mass means lacks capacity to think. Right? So mass and human. So technology. Are you a fan of technology? Technology has done more harm or more good? More harm. You can't say both. Okay? You should take a stand and defend your position. Fine. So Einstein once said that one day technology will produce the generation of idiots. That is going to happen, and that is happening with technology. Fine. So what is happening? Technology is ruling us. We are over occupied. We don't get time, and we don't go for thinking. So what knowledge requires us? Reflection, reflectivism, critical thinking. So when you go home, try to think, what is knowledge? At times, you can explain something by knowing the purpose behind it. So the purpose can be empowerment. Okay. So now philosophy is love for knowledge, means you aim to get true knowledge. What is your definition of true knowledge? Which cannot be shaken, which gives you confidence. Fine. So somebody should not come and confuse you. That is true knowledge. Okay. So the true knowledge, philosophy means search for true knowledge. Fine. So how philosophy began? What is the origin of philosophy? We are searching true knowledge. Means what knowledge we had earlier, it is appearing not knowledge, rather illusion of knowledge. Okay. So there is a history of evolution of knowledge, and we are talking with reference to the Western world. Okay. So when philosophy begins, when and where, and who is father of philosophy? So when and where. When, where, why, how. So when is ancient Greece. When and where. And who? Who is the father of philosophy? Socrates. We can also call Plato, we can use it interchangeably, Plato or Socrates. Why do we call them father of philosophy? Because Socrates has given theory of knowledge. Okay. So Socrates says any knowledge is not knowledge. So only that knowledge is knowledge which gives you confidence. And as a philosopher, he is trying to segregate between the true knowledge and the beliefs. Means sometimes it is a belief. So belief can shake you. And how philosophy begins? So philosophy begins. You will search knowledge when? When will you search knowledge? What is required for a person to search knowledge? कुछ तो अंदर होगा ना, हर इंसान थोड़ी नॉलेज सर्च करता है. What? Curiosity. हम बाहर से वो सर्च करते हैं जो हमारे पास नहीं होता. ठीक है. हमारे पास कुछ वैक्यूम है. ठीक है. या हमारे अंदर क्या है, क्वेश्चंस हैं, और we don't have answer to those questions. So at the base of who is a philosopher or who has love for knowledge means a person should have intellectual curiosity. Do you feel good when you know something? or do you feel burdened? It will make a difference. Do you enjoy the classes, or classes appear burden to you? Classes appear work to you, or classes appear empowerment to you? क्या लगता है आपको क्लास में? अब झूठ ना बताना. You feel हमारे क्लास में अच्छा लग रहा है, तो बस any class is not class. हाँ, where Shubhra Ranjan, that is a class. Fine. ठीक है, तो हैं तो क्या कहते हैं दुनिया में मुनव्वर अच्छे अच्छे, है ना, लेकिन गालिब का अंदाज़े बयां ही कुछ और है ना. तो दुनिया में सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट क्या है? अंदाज़े बयान. आप कैसे उस चीज को प्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं, ठीक है. और अंदाज़े बयान कैसे अच्छा होगा? जब आपके पास लैंग्वेज होगा, आपके पास नॉलेज होगा, ठीक है. तो नॉलेज लेना मुश्किल काम है, पढ़ाई करना बहुत ही मुश्किल काम है, सब नहीं कर पाते, ठीक है. उसमें एक चीज इंपॉर्टेंट है, intellectual curiosity. Fine. So if you have curiosity, you can sustain knowledge. Fine. And then you will go in search of knowledge. So what is intellectual curiosity? You are curious to know what? You may have certain questions in your mind and you are looking for the answers. For example, Buddha had certain questions in the mind and he was not satisfied with the existing answers. So the existing answers were given by Vedas or whatever texts, but Buddha felt that it is not enough. We need to know more. Fine. So how now knowledge develops? Later on, we will study one thinker, Thomas Kuhn. And Thomas Kuhn has written a book, Structure of Scientific Revolution, where he talks about evolution of paradigms. Means how new knowledge emerges. When my existing knowledge will not be sufficient to answer my curiosity, I will search for something new. So when Galileo and Copernicus were not satisfied with the geocentric theory given by church, and for years and years people kept on believing in that theory. For years and years, they thought that is truth. But later on, there were certain questions which this geocentric model was not able to explain. So the intellectual curiosity led them to discover that that was not knowledge, that was illusion. And the world is heliocentric, not geocentric. Fine. So knowledge, you learn and then for some time you feel you know, but again some facts will appear which will question your knowledge. So you again search for knowledge. So this is how the knowledge began. So it was Socrates who made the distinction between true knowledge and illusion of knowledge. Means it is not giving me confidence, right? I am unable to answer so many questions. So I should search more. So Socrates actually made the distinction between true knowledge and illusion, or you can say he differentiated between mythology and philosophy. So how can I explain what is philosophy? You cannot explain something on its own. Fine. You cannot explain day only by telling what is day. You need to compare it with night. You cannot explain success. To explain success, you have to explain failure. And only a failed person knows the importance of success. And we should fail. Fail in life is very important, because then we will understand the value of success. Are you ready to fail? Are you ready to fail in life? Yes, enjoy your failures, because a common man will cry on failures. But are you a common man? No, you are a prince. You can't sit and cry. Rather, you will enjoy. You have to stand out. You have to be a different person. Right? So you can't understand. Our language is not such that we can understand things by themselves. So we have to compare. So when Socrates describes what is knowledge, he tried to make the difference between earlier knowledge and what he was telling. And he says that it was illusion of knowledge. Because it was illusion of knowledge, it was mythology. He said it is myths, it is mythology, and philosophy is not mythology. Right? So in ancient Greece, the political system before the era of philosophy was based on mythology. Fine. So Greeks had their local gods, and based on what God wanted, people were running their systems. But later on, it was realized that perhaps there is a problem. Perhaps either we do not know what God wanted. So we may have misinterpreted God. See, we have been told that if you will go to the temple every Tuesday and Thursday, and if you will keep fast, you will get success. ठीक है, ऐसा बहुत लोग सुन रहे होंगे या मानते होंगे. लेकिन कभी कभी ऐसा है, सातों सोमवार कर लिए, शादी नहीं हुई, है ना. तो कई लोग डिसअपॉइंट हो जाते हैं कि भाई मेरे व्रत तप में क्या ही कमी थी. तो थ्योरी तो यही थी कि जैसे ही सातवां सोमवार पूरा हुआ, अगले दिन शादी तय. लेकिन नहीं होती. तब क्या होता है? तब लगता है सब स्टोरी है, पंडित जी बेवकूफ बना गए. ठीक है, तो आप क्या बोलते हो? ये तो मिथ था, ये तो साइंस नहीं था. ठीक है, अब हम शनिवार करेंगे. यू अंडरस्टैंड? अब शनिवार करके आप पास हो गए, तो आप ये सोचने लगे कि शनिवार वाले भगवान ज्यादा स्ट्रांग है ना. तो तुम 10 लोगों को बताओगे, ट्यूसडे थर्सडे नहीं सैटरडे, तो तुम्हारी थियोरी चलती रहेगी till the time somebody found nothing is working because of Saturday. है ना. तुम चाहो तो बिजनेस भी कर सकते हो. मतलब यू कैन ओपन अ शॉप शाम को पार्ट टाइम, उसमें यही बताओ सबको, सैटरडे को दिया जलाना बरगद के नीचे. ठीक है। और फिर दिया जलाने के बाद अगर कुछ ना हो तो बोलना तेल कम था, प्योर था। अच्छा प्योर था जब, तब प्योर वाला ले आना, अपनी दुकान से खरीद के दे देना पतंजलि का, यू अंडरस्टैंड, प्योर देना। उसके बाद फिर कुछ नहीं होगा, फिर उसको कहना डायरेक्शन किधर था, लॉ किधर की थी। तो कम से कम 20-25 विजिट्स तो करा ही सकते हो, है ना। तो ये सब थोड़ा पार्ट टाइम, क्यों नहीं कर सकते, दिस इज लाइफ। हो सकता है किसी का दिया जलाने से भलाई हो जाए, किसी का नहीं भी हो। तो ऐसे ही है ना, साइंस में भी ये तो ऐसा ही है कि लोग पहले कोपरनिकस की बात नहीं मानते थे, फिर मानने लगे। ठीक है, तो सब टाइम है, टाइम में वो थ्योरी चलेगी या टाइम में नहीं चलेगी, सब प्रोबेबिलिटी है। नॉलेज इज ऑल प्रोबेबिलिटी, फाइन। एनीवे, what Socrates held that what earlier philosophers were telling was not science, it was not true knowledge. Then what? You have to invent the terms. So it was mythology. Fine. Mythology means myth. So Socrates is saying, I am telling you the truth. What you have studied is mythology. Okay. So if somebody asks you to define philosophy, you can say philosophy is not mythology, right? Because mythology is illusion of knowledge, whereas philosophy is true knowledge. Okay, so political philosophy or search for true knowledge, it begins, this story begins with Socrates, when Socrates has given theory of knowledge. Right? So what is philosophy? You understood philosophy? What is philosophy? True knowledge. How to know philosophy? Differentiate it from mythology. And true knowledge gives you sense of well-being, right? Sense of confidence. Okay, so this is how philosophy begins, with intellectual curiosity, and till the time your theory is not proved wrong, you will run the show. Right? So someday someone else's theory will start challenging you. So the new theory will come. So knowledge is also changing. Why knowledge is changing? Because this world is a world of change. So everything is changing, universe is expanding, and no knowledge, anybody, any knowledge can prove wrong anytime. So that is the reason Buddha kept silent, right? Because knowledge is so vast. Same thing is with Socrates also. So Socrates had a habit of asking questions, but Socrates was never giving answers. Okay, he compelled people to think. So what is philosophy? Questioning ourselves, reflecting on our ideas, be critical, be challenging. You should be challenging yourself. Do you understand what is philosophy? Can I use the term philosophy and science interchangeably? Subject to the condition. हमेशा बोलो depends on the definition. So if science is unquestionable and it is true knowledge, we can call it. Okay? So now philosophy. Now what is ideology? what is the difference in philosophy and ideology? So if I refer to Gramsci, one thinker you will study, he says philosophy is for intellectuals. जिनका कुछ इंटेलेक्ट लेवल हाई होता है, and ideology is for masses. मासेस को हम एक सिंपल ढंग से समझाते हैं. वी टेल समथिंग इन अ वेरी सिंप्लीफाइड वे. ओके, तो अगर फिलॉसफी है कुछ नहीं, जैसे मार्क्सिज्म इज फिलॉसफी ऑल्सो एंड मार्क्सिज्म इज आइडियोलॉजी ऑल्सो. गांधीज्म इज फिलॉसफी ऑल्सो, Gandhism is ideology. It depends upon who is the audience. So if common man not well versed in philosophy, I will try to explain in simpler terms. Okay. For example, if Gandhi has to explain to Indians about Indian conception of communism, will masses in India who have no knowledge of philosophy of Marx will understand? So what language he will use? Ramraj. Okay. So he will talk in the language which masses understand. Fine. So it is all, you try to simplify it. It is meant for consumption of masses. So for example, Indians, like, we may not understand what is nation, nationalism, but we all may understand we are Hindus. हिंदुत्व में बताना पड़ेगा नेशनलिज्म. तो पढ़े लिखों की सभा में मोदी जी जाएंगे तो क्या बोलेंगे? नेशनलिज्म. ठीक है, क्योंकि सामने वाले को समझ में आना चाहिए. और बाकियों की सभा में गए तो राम राज्य, हिंदुत्व, ये सब समझाना पड़ता है, वरना समझ ही नहीं पाएंगे तो कम्युनिकेशन नहीं. तो मासेस से कैसे कम्युनिकेट करोगे? इन द लैंग्वेज. तो मासेस ने कौन सी पॉलिटिकल फिलॉसफी पढ़ ली है कि तुम बताओगे? इट्स अ स्टेटलेस एंड अ क्लासलेस सोसाइटी. मासेस के लिए इतना बहुत है, राम राज्य. ओके, है सेम, लेकिन लैंग्वेज कैसी कर दी हमने? सिंप्लीफाइड कर दी. ठीक है, तो व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस? सो फिलॉसफी is like, you need some prior knowledge to understand, and I am giving you one diluted version that is called ideology. Fine. And why do we need to tell political philosophy or ideology to masses? Because any leader requires mass support, whether it is democracy or not. You need legitimacy. You need consent. So as universal adult franchise, as right to vote kept on increasing and masses kept on getting integrated in politics, politics came out of the domain of philosophers and intellectuals. It is in mass domain. Fine. So in India, if I have to do politics of caste, what will I say? I believe in regionalism. What is regionalism? Casteism. So what is the composition of the regional parties? The parties of the caste. Every regional party can be associated with a particular caste. But will any regional party will say that we stand for this dominant caste? No, because you have to catch votes from all. जैसे ही आप कहोगे हम सिर्फ इसी कास्ट की पार्टी हैं, तो आपके चांसेस कम हो जाते हैं. तो मासेस को दूसरी डोज देनी पड़ती है, रीजनलिज्म. जैसे ही आप कहोगे हिंदुइज्म, तो फिर कुछ दिक्कत है, तो दूसरी डोज देनी पड़ेगी नेशनलिज्म. ठीक है, तो ये सब क्या है? आइडियोलॉजीज. समझ में आ गया? फिलॉसफी एंड आइडियोलॉजी. नाउ थियरी. What is theory? What is the purpose of theory? Newton's theory. What is the purpose? Explanation. Okay. What is theory? Theory is a explanatory tool. You need theory to explain anything. Marxist theory of the state. So what Marx explains? Marx explains the character of a state. So what Marx tells about a state? He says that state is an instrument of the propertied class. So that is Marx's theory of a state. Fine. So the purpose of theory is explanation. In political science, you have two types of theories. Depend upon the method of theory building you have used. So one theory is scientific theory, where you go on the basis of data. Another theory is philosophical theory, where you go on the basis of logic. Here, logic, here, verification. So we have different theories: scientific theory and philosophical theories. So more number of theories are philosophical in nature, because in humanities it is not so easy to go for collection of data, because in certain countries the conditions may not be conducive for field research. The governments may hide data. Governments may not have data bank also. Okay. And data-based research is also resource intensive. So the traditionally political science is more philosophical as a subject. So theories are based on logic. We do have the theories based on data, but very few theories. So can you tell to anybody what is knowledge, what is science, what is philosophy, what is ideology, and theory? Philosophical theory and scientific theory. So now we come to the main point, and the main point is thought. What is thought? Right. So it is just a thought and philosophy and theory, actually you can't distinguish, right? But every discipline has certain norms. So in political science, thought means it forms the foundation of the subject. Why to study thought? Why normally to begin with thought? Because it forms the foundation of the subject. What is the foundation of any subject? Language. Okay? So what do we get when we study thought? We get to know the language. ठीक है? थॉट हम क्यों पढ़ेंगे? जिससे हम बात कर सके, जिससे पॉलिटिकल बातें की जा सके और आप मतलब समझ पाए. ठीक है? और लैंग्वेज के क्या कॉन्सेप्ट होते हैं? एक होता है कॉन्सेप्ट, और एक होता है वर्ड which we use for that concept. Concept मतलब what is signified, and word is signifier. So I am saying sun. Sun is what? What is sun? Sun क्या है? Signified है, signifier है कि what? Signifier. तो जब मैंने बोला sun, आपके दिमाग में क्या इमेज आई? सूरज. हाँ, सन का मतलब स्टार्ट. सन का मतलब स्टार्ट ऐसे फिजिक्स में आई डोंट नो, नहीं ऐसा होता है क्या? आई डोंट नो. ऐसे तो मैंने आज ही पता चला. ज्योग्राफी में ये कौन सी थ्योरी? अच्छा, स्टार. आई थॉट स्टार्ट. नो नो नो. ओके, दैट इज फाइन. तो सन, one is sun, one is sun, or day. Have you read Sun magazine? Have you heard about it? So different people will be having different images. Okay? And it is not necessary that if I am speaking sun, that sun is same, which is coming to your imagination. Similarly, let's say simpler, dog. So I am saying dog is what is signified is emerging in your mind. Fine. आजकल तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट में भी है ना, सुनवाई चल रही है. हमने देखा बहुत सारे डॉग वहां पे बैठे थे. फाइन. आई हैव अ फोटो. यस, आई कैन शो यू दैट फोटो. मतलब क्या सुनवाई हुई हमारे बारे में. ठीक है? तो बहुत सारे स्ट्रीट डॉग्स भी थे बाहर. फाइन. हे, आई एम नॉट जोकिंग. यू वांट टू सी द फोटो? अच्छा, आई कैन शो द फोटो. मेरा मोबाइल ले आना कोई जन, फोटो दिख जाएगा. I was so happy. Means in India, even dogs are so concerned about their rights. So India is truly the mother of democracy. मतलब कण कण में, जल जीवन में, डॉग में, कैट में, सब में डेमोक्रेसी ही डेमोक्रेसी है अपने यहाँ, है ना. वी आर रियली ब्लेस्ड कि अपने यहाँ देखो डेमोक्रेसी कितना है. तो एनीवे, जब मैंने बोला डॉग, तो आपके दिमाग में डॉग का इमेज आया. जो इमेज आया वो है सिग्निफाइड. बट इज द इमेज सेम? यू नो I am talking about which dog? No. So you have to ask. That's why you cannot answer any question. All knowledge is only questioning. So if I say, have you seen dog? You have to ask, which dog? I'll say brown dog. Which brown? Light brown, dark brown. Is your light and my light brown is same? No. So can we ever understand each other? No. Okay? So what is knowledge actually? Misunderstanding. Okay? There is always a possibility that knowing something means knowing nothing. Okay? Because anybody can be wrong. So anybody can be wrong because the medium through which we express knowledge is language, and human language is still not developed. So the moment you use one word, you have to use many other words. अच्छा, कब, कहाँ, कितने बजे, किस देश में, किस ब्रीड का, कौन सा ब्राउन, तब भी can you really understand? Can two persons ever understand each other? No, that is not possible. Fine. तो अभी हम लोग क्या करने वाले हैं, हम कुछ बोलेंगे, तुमको बस ये कहना है अंडरस्टूड अंडरस्टूड, ठीक है? बस हम लोग को क्या करना है, दैट इज अ रिचुअल. हम बोलेंगे बच्चों समझ में आया? यस मैम. ना हमें आया ना तुम्हें आया. यू अंडरस्टैंडिंग दिस? बट चल रही है दुनिया, चल रही. ठीक है? तो फिलहाल लेट अस मिसअंडरस्टैंड प्लेटो, Socrates and other thinkers. So when I will discuss Plato, I will not take any guarantee that I will teach Plato. Fine. First of all, Plato could never write what he meant to write, because Plato never had enough language. Then we could not understand what Plato actually wanted to know. So you will not study Plato, you will study my understanding of Plato. तो आपके प्लेटो हम हैं, ठीक है? यानी हमने जो कहा वही प्लेटो ने कहा. आप ये कहोगे नहीं नहीं, इस किताब में तो कुछ और लिखा हुआ है, दैट इज इररिलेवेंट. ठीक है? इसीलिए बहुत सारी किताबें नहीं पढ़नी. ह्यूमैनिटीज में 2+2 4 नहीं है. ह्यूमैनिटीज में सब अलग अलग है. हैव यू अंडरस्टूड दिस? तुम फोन ले भी आए? अच्छा, ओके. आई नीड दैट इमेज. जरा दिखा देना. आई वाज सो हैप्पी, देश में डेमोक्रेसी है. और इट्स अ मैटर ऑफ प्राउड. बदल गया क्या? जरा ये दिखा देना, ये वाली फोटो. मतलब उस दिन मेरे को इतना अच्छा लगा, हम भारत में रहते हैं. और गया, किसको भेजा था मैंने? हटा दिया, पता नहीं. हिल नहीं रहा है. किसको भेजा था? लास्ट ट्राई. हाँ, यस. इनको ये फोटो दिखा दो जरा. हाँ, इसमें डाल. ठीक है? यू विल बी रियली प्राउड ऑफ अपने जिस देश में डॉगी इतना जबरदस्त है, फिर वहां पे डेमोक्रेसी क्यों नहीं होगी? ठीक है, फिलहाल आपको कुछ समझ में आया या नहीं आया, कुछ भी बोल सकते हो, दैट डजंट मैटर, क्योंकि हमें नहीं आएगा ना तुम्हें आएगा, हमें 2.5 घंटा साथ में गुजारना है, अच्छे से गुजर जाए, हम ये इम्प्रेशन क्रिएट कर लें कि यही प्लेटो ने कहा, ये मेरी कोशिश है, ठीक है। और ये कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं है, तो आप प्लेटो नहीं पढ़ रहे, आप मेरी अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ प्लेटो पढ़ रहे हैं, और मेरी अंडरस्टैंडिंग आप तक जाके और बदल जा रही, प्लस योर अंडरस्टैंडिंग will not remain static. So what you will understand about Plato today will change the other day, because as our knowledge about many other things increase, our perceptions change. आ गया? चलो, ठीक है, तो कुछ अभी सब फ्लूइड ही चलेगा। तो फिलहाल पॉलिटिकल थॉट, थॉट is a foundation of the subject, and फाउंडेशन हम थॉट क्यों पढ़ रहे, जिसे हम टर्म्स समझ जाए, ओके, मतलब if somebody says democracy, you understand democracy, पर्पस समझ गए थॉट, और normally we will understand thought with reference to time and space, means ancient thought, medieval thought, modern thought, right? So now the next question is, how do we and from where do we study thought? Okay, so what is the source of political thought? हो गया? सोर्स क्या है पॉलिटिकल थॉट का? हम किससे पढ़ते हैं? प्लेटो का जो थॉट, कहाँ से पढ़ते हैं? क्लासिक्स। सो सोर्स ऑफ पॉलिटिकल थॉट इज क्लासिक्स। यू नो क्लासिक्स? क्लासिक्स, रिपब्लिक क्या है? क्लासिक है। किस बेसिस पर? महाभारत क्या है? क्लासिक है। किस बेसिस पे आप उसे क्लासिक कहते हैं? ठीक है, क्लासिक मीन्स क्लास अपार्ट, ठीक है, तो समथिंग डिफरेंट। अब तुम लोगों को क्या है बताओ? ये अभी अभी सुनवाई हुई है वहां पे, वहीं की ये फोटो कोई लेके आया है। कहाँ की फोटो है ये? छोड़ो, नहीं देख नहीं पाए? ये देखिए, just the hearing got finished. AI नहीं है भाई, हम गए थे ना वहां पे। I just wanted to see कि भाई इस पर डॉग्स का क्या कहना है ना? तो done, you have understood? Okay, fine. तो चलो, तो क्लासिक्स कहाँ से पढ़ा जाता है? What are classics? Classics means class apart, or a class in itself. Is Mughal Azam a classic? Yes. Is Sholay a classic? What made it classic? A class apart. Fine. Means the quality, whatever, something is different, class apart. And if something is a class apart, it is our heritage. It is a heritage of humanity. Okay. So heritage means you are preserving it for generations. So every generation watches Sholay, most probably, fine. Generations and generations. Ramayana is what? Classic, class apart, unparalleled. Okay. Why something is unparalleled? For different reasons. It can be because of the depth of knowledge it has. If something is deeper, if the foundation stone of building is deeper, it can stand for long, means relevant for generations. Okay. So certain books, Plato's Republic, written long time back in ancient Greece, is studied even today. Not just in Greece, but also in India and elsewhere. Political science, the study of political science begins with this. Fine, means it has a knowledge for generations. It has validity for generations. So something gains validity if something deep. Fine, if some foundation, if the foundation of the building is deep and very deep, that it continues to stand, you can call it classic, you can call it heritage sites. Okay. So in a very simple manner, classics are textbook. Classics can be called as reference books. So you have reference books, you have textbooks, you have coffee table book, you have articles, you have magazine. So there are different types of reading material, and classics are reference books. So reference books means we refer to them again and again. Means a book written by Plato to solve the problem of his time is relevant reference book even for our time. So what makes a book classic? The depth of its knowledge. Okay. Now the question is whether every book of Plato is classic. No. It means every book may not contain same depth. So Plato has written more than 30 dialogues, but we don't read all. We hardly remember, other than Republic. There is law and all, but we don't have to study. So we have to study Plato's classic. Right? So Plato's classic, that is why we call it as Plato's magnum opus. Okay. So main book for which he is known. Machiavelli has written lot many books, but everybody know Prince. So our source will also be the magnum opus of that thinker or classic. So in a particular time, there can be more than one classics. Okay, there can be more than one philosopher. So ancient texts which we study even today, we call it as classics. So can you define what is classic? Fine. For example, yeah, something to be preserved, something to be referred again and again. Now the question is, if knowledge in classics is so deep, is it easy to understand it? Is Constitution of India a classic? Is it so easy to understand if you read only from Constitution? No, because you require lot of background information, lot of background knowledge. So it is not so easy to study classics. Why? Are you able to concentrate? No? Kyun? You are not able to concentrate in the class? It is difficult? Okay. So if you want, you can ask questions also. क्या difficult लगा? Oh, you always felt, but you didn't have words. So now you are at the right place. हाँ? सेल्फ एक्चुअलाइजेशन हो जाएगा अब यहाँ पे. तो यही तो थिंकर्स जो हैं वो आपको भाषा दे देंगे, आप उस चीज को एक्सप्रेस नहीं कर पाएंगे. तो ये लोग क्या दे रहे हैं आपको? लैंग्वेज दे रहे हैं जिससे आप एक्सप्रेस कर पाए, और इंटेलेक्चुअल क्या है उस रियलिटी को समझाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं लोग. तो अब मेन चीज ये, बाकी लोग समझ रहे हैं या कॉन्सेंट्रेशन खत्म? बिकॉज यू नॉट राइटिंग, यू आर अंडरस्टैंडिंग. फाइन. ओके. तो why we have to understand why it is difficult to study classics. So anything becomes difficult, and who knows better than you all? You can't even read newspaper, है ना? You go for magazines, but is magazine which you consider is magazine. What is the definition of magazine? जब आज की जनरेशन पेपर नहीं पढ़ पा रही तो क्लासिक क्या पढ़ेगी, है ना? तो क्लासिक तो पढ़ ही नहीं पाएगी. So there are so many problems in studying classics. First of all, depth. Of the knowledge means you should have lot of background. Means if you are from science and if I give you, go and read Plato's Republic, you will find difficult because the many words will come which you don't know the meanings. And depth, तो एक background की जरूरत है. दूसरी प्रॉब्लम ये है, लैंग्वेज प्ले गेम्स. कोई कुछ कहता है, हम कुछ और समझ लेते हैं, फिर उसको समझाते बैठते हैं, नहीं नहीं तुम गलत समझ गए, आई डिडंट मीन इट, है ना। कई लोग आते हैं मेंस की कॉपी चेक कराने, तो उसके बाद हम कहते इसमें सब कुछ लिखा है, आंसर कहाँ पे लिखा था लिखा तो वो कहते हैं आई मीन टू से दिस। तो मीन क्या, तुम साथ में तो जाओगे नहीं पेपर के, कि जाओगे एग्जामिनर के घर साथ में समझाने, तो दैट इज अ प्रॉब्लम। तो प्रॉब्लम ये है कि हम लोग एक दूसरे को समझाते रहते हैं, नो 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 नॉट दिस, आई मीन टू से दिस, बट अ अदर पर्सन will make the meaning which other person find it convenient. We make the meanings, we manipulate meanings. हम कितना भी समझा लें किसी को, जिसको नहीं समझना है उसका ऑब्जेक्टिव ही है कि वो उसको नहीं समझना है, या वही समझना है जो वो समझना चाहता है, तो किसी को कुछ समझाने से फायदा नहीं। तो who is the enlightened person? Buddha. Buddha. So Buddha kept silent. Fine. तो सबसे अच्छी बात है चुप बैठो, है ना, किसी को समझाओ नहीं। अगर किसी को आपको समझना होगा तो वो ऐसे ही समझ जाएगा, वरना तुम समझा समझा के जान दे दोगे, वो नहीं समझेगा। लोग अपने इंटरप्रिटेशंस, अपनी दुनिया में रहते हैं, अपने इंटरप्रिटेशंस मानते हैं, ठीक है। आपको किसने क्या कहा से कोई मतलब होता है? किसने क्या कहा, अक्सर लोग कहते हैं मैंने ऐसा तो कुछ नहीं कहा। आपको क्या कहा इज लेस इंपॉर्टेंट, बट हु सेड इज इंपॉर्टेंट, ठीक है। तो अगर कहने वाला आपको पसंद है तो उसकी बात, झूठ बात भी सच मानने का मन करता है। जो तुमको हो पसंद वही बात करेंगे। तुम दिन को अगर दिन और रात को रात, तो वो कहेंगे। हम लोग जितनी बातें करते हैं उससे कोई मतलब ही नहीं, इसलिए आपस में बात का कोई मतलब नहीं है। पर्सन जो बात कर रहा है, आप पर्सन को पहले मानते हो, बात से आपका कोई संबंध नहीं होता है। तो हु इज स्पीकिंग, if that person has influenced you, if that person has power on you, influence का मतलब क्या है? Power. What is knowledge? Knowledge is power. तो आप ज्ञान प्राप्त नहीं करते हो किसी से, ठीक है, उसकी पावर के अंडर में आ जाते हो। जितने बुद्धा के फॉलोअर्स थे, तो क्या उन्हें बुद्धा समझ में आ गया? नहीं, आ ही नहीं सकता। लेकिन बुद्धा का कैरिस्मा पसंद आ गया, ठीक है। इसीलिए हम ये देखते हैं कि किसने कहा है, क्या कहा हमारे बस में वो नहीं है। मतलब you are not concerned with who said, what is said, but who is saying so. Fine. So all we know and all we understand is power. Which knowledge is knowledge? Which comes with power? Why you accept somebody's story? Why you don't accept somebody's story? Because first you like a person, fine, and then whatever that person says you like, and if you don't like a person, even if he tells the truth, you will not give vote, ठीक है। जिसकी रैली में मजा आता है, जिसकी बातों में मजा आता है, आप उसको वोट देते हो। आपको सच झूठ का क्या लेना देना, ठीक है। तो सच झूठ तो वैसे नहीं पता चलेगा। तो इसका मतलब क्या है? यू लाइक समबडी, you are under influence of somebody, एंड नॉलेज इज पावर। ठीक है, तो लैंग्वेज के गेम्स हैं, लैंग्वेज हमारे साथ गेम खेलती है। हम कहना कुछ चाहते हैं, सामने वाला समझ नहीं पाता है। तो अब समस्या है कि व्हाई इट इज डिफिकल्ट टू रीड प्लेटो, बिकॉज it is not necessary that Plato could talk or write what he wanted. That time language was all the more less developed. Next, the meanings keep on changing. Fine. So from every age, the meanings keep on changing. So sometimes we understand Plato through what we mean to, what we know. For example, Aristotle is a critic of democracy, but Aristotle's democracy is not the way we understand today. So you should be knowing the language at that time. So Aristotle, when Aristotle opposes democracy, he didn't mean democracy, he meant mobocracy. So what term Aristotle uses for democracy is polity. Fine, but today we use the term polity in a different manner. So the problem is language games. Another problem is phenomena of truth to power. Means political science is about a state. So in political science, you discuss about those who are in power. But is speaking truth to those in power is a risky task. For example, Socrates. Socrates has spoken the truth. So Socrates was given the sentence to drink hemlock. And who is Socrates? How Socrates is known as? He is known as the first martyr of truth. Truth या philosophy, philosophy के लिए जिसने जान दे दी, सच्चाई के लिए जिसने जान दे दी, वो है सॉक्रेटिस। तो सच्चाई बोलने से पहले सॉक्रेटिस की कहानी याद रखनी है। ठीक है, यानी कि जो सच बोलेगा, फिर वो क्राइस्ट हो चाहे गांधी हो, दुनिया जो है सच के पास पहुंचा देती है। ठीक है, तो अब हर इंसान इतना महान है नहीं कि उसको भगवान के पास जाने में जल्दी है। तो जो चीज लिखी गई है वो बहुत इनडायरेक्टली लिखी गई है। ठीक है, जो ऑथर लिखना चाह रहा है वो नहीं लिखा है उसने, वो आपके ऊपर है कि आप उसको समझें। इसीलिए जब हम क्लासिक्स पढ़ते हैं तो वी हैव टू रीड बिटवीन द लाइन्स, और व्हेन वी स्टडी क्लासिक्स वी हैव टू स्टडी साइलेंसेस। जो कहा गया से ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है जो नहीं कहा गया। ठीक है, क्योंकि कहोगे तो पकड़े जाओगे। आया समझ में? तो हम लोगों को वो सब पढ़ना है जो रिपब्लिक में नहीं लिखा है। ठीक है, यानी जो हम बताएंगे वो पढ़ना है आपको। इसीलिए हम कहते हैं रिपब्लिक खरीदो ही ना, हमारे नोट्स ले लो, ठीक है। वैसे भी तुम्हें वो पढ़ना कहाँ है, प्लेटो बता नहीं पाया, ठीक है, और बताएगा या लिख नहीं पाया। ट्रुथ टू पावर है, पावरफुल इंसान के सामने सच बोलना बहुत बड़ा खतरा है। तो लोगों ने सच लिखा नहीं, लोग सोचते हैं कि जो पढ़ने वाले लोग हैं वो अपनी समझ से समझ जाएं। तो इन पॉलिटिक्स what is not as important what one mean to say, ठीक है। तो इसलिए जब पॉलिटिक्स की किताब पढ़ी जाती है तो उल्टे होके पढ़ी जाती है। नॉर्मली जब आप किताबें पढ़ते हो तो ऐसे बैठते हो हाथ में, लेकिन पॉलिटिक्स की किताब जब भी पढ़ो ऐसे नहीं, ऐसे पढ़ी जाती है, ठीक है। हैव यू अंडरस्टूड दिस? ऐसे नहीं लिखा है, ये सब इल्यूजन है। तुमने डीडीएलजी देखी है? काजोल कैसे पढ़ती है? उल्टा करके। हर अक्लमंद इंसान आज जाके देखना वही तरीका है, ठीक है। उल्टा पढ़ना है, मतलब उल्टा खड़ा होना है। यू हैव टू स्टैंड ऑन योर हेड, नॉट ऑन योर फीट। तो इसलिए पॉलिटिकल इंटरप्रिटेशन एंड स्टडीइंग क्लासिक्स is difficult. So I do not claim I will tell what Plato said. Fine? Because जब प्लेटो खुद नहीं बता पाया तो हम प्लेटो की बात तुम्हें कैसे बताएं, ठीक है। तो हम अपने मन से 2-3 दिन, हम लोगों ने भाई फीस लिए तो 2-3 दिन लगाने, हमारा यही ऑब्जेक्टिव है। बच्चों को लगना चाहिए कि प्लेटो पढ़ लिया, ठीक है। तो अब यही है, इसलिए समझना है कि पढ़ लिया है। और प्लेटो में जो भी है, किसी को कुछ समझ नहीं आना, पहली बात तो उसने लिखा नहीं, फिर प्लेटो की बात किसी और ने लिखी, उसके बाद किसी और ने वो टेक्स्ट बुक लिखी, फिर किसी और ने लिखी, लिखते 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 what happens, meanings get lost in translations, ठीक है। तो दैट इज व्हाट हाइपर रियलिटी, ठीक है। तो हम रियलिटी नहीं पढ़ते हैं, हम रियलिटी का सिम्युलेटेड वर्जन पढ़ते हैं, और वर्जन का वर्जन पढ़ते हैं, वर्जन का वर्जन पढ़ते हैं, ठीक है। तो इन शॉर्ट कोई कुछ पढ़ नहीं रहा है, सब टाइम पास कर रहे हैं। सच्चाई ये, लेकिन तुम ये सुनना नहीं चाहते, ठीक है। टीचर ये बताना नहीं चाहता कि वो बच्चों का टाइम किल कर रहा है, ठीक है। फाइनली जिसको समझ में आना है उसको आएगा, जिसको नहीं आना है नहीं आएगा। लेकिन कुछ लोग समझेंगे आएगा, कुछ लोग समझेंगे कोई बड़ी चीज है, नहीं भी आई तो ठीक है, ठीक है। अलग अलग लोग अलग अलग थॉट्स लेके क्लास से जाएंगे। तो भाई तुम समझ गए why studying classics is difficult. First, depth, and you need lot of background information. The second is game of language, because language is evolving. The third thing is truth to power. They have not written, so you have to read the silences. Fine. So this is problem with the study of classics, because the study of classics is difficult. It is called as hermeneutics. Hermeneutics means art of interpretation. art of interpretation. So from where this word hermeneutics come? It comes from Hermes, a mythological figure, and it is believed that Hermes is a messenger of God. ठीक है? He brings messages of God to us. क्रिश्चियनिटी का ये बाइबल का इंटरप्रिटेशन का मेथड को टेक्स्ट में लिया गया. ठीक है? तो मैसेंजर ऑफ गॉड है. गॉड keeps on sending messages to us, but the problem is we do not pay attention. God मैसेज देता है कि भाई अगर माउंटेन्स हैं तो डिफॉरेस्टेशन मत करो. गॉड ने सीधे केदारनाथ पे मैसेज दिया, नहीं लिया आपने. जोशी मठ पे दिया, नहीं लिया. तो मेन चीज है गॉड मैसेज हर समय दे रहा है, बट it is not easy to understand the message of God. Why? Because we do not know the language. Okay, we don't know the language of God. So God speaks in which language? You know that? हाँ? एक गॉड वाली लैंग्वेज कौन सी? गॉड जब भी बोलेंगे तो किस भाषा में बोलेंगे? तमिल? डिस्ट्रक्शन भाषा में? Is it Tamil? It is Sanskrit. Sanskrit is what? देववाणी है ना. अरेबिक. कौन सी भाषा में भगवान बोलते हैं? ये इस पे फाइनल हो गया. भगवान संस्कृत में बोलते हैं. ठीक है. तो भगवान कुछ नहीं बोलते, भगवान तमाशा देखते हैं. राइट? एंड गॉड sends messages. Where is God? God है कहाँ? Inside us. ठीक है. तो सोल हमारी मैसेज देती है, लेकिन we have stopped listening to our souls. ऐसा कोई भी इंसान नहीं है जिसे सही और गलत पता ना हो. तो वो इंसान गलत कब करता है? जब भी आप गलती करते हैं ना, आप जानबूझ के करते हैं. कोई भी इंसान बिना सोचे समझे गलती नहीं करता, तो जानबूझ के करते हैं. अब जानबूझ के करते हैं तो पनिशमेंट उसका पार्ट है. आप एक्सक्यूज नहीं कर सकते. दैट इज अ कर्मा थ्योरी. ठीक है? वेदर यू विल गेट the return of your action. So if you have killed somebody, you will get the return. You can't say I was innocent and all, I didn't knew. So even if you was innocent and if you were ignorant, it is your problem, not God's problem. God has sent the message. It is your duty to understand the message. बट तुम लोग गॉड से भी खेलते हो. मतलब गॉड को बेवकूफ बनाने का सोच रखा है कि भाई गॉड से बोलेंगे मैसेज डिलीवर नहीं हुआ. एयरटेल का कनेक्शन जो था वो आजकल चल नहीं रहा है, इससे गॉड कुछ नहीं बहकने वाले. फाइन. गॉड जो है तुम्हारे हर कर्म का हिसाब लेने वाले हैं, क्योंकि गॉड आपके अंदर है. आपने चॉइस की not to listen to your soul. So your soul is always there to guide you. It is your choice, you want to listen or not. Fine. So who is Krishna? Soul of Arjun. ठीक है? तो Krishna is not Krishna in that sense. Krishna is the soul of Arjun. Soul means reason. Reason means guide. Krishna is what? Guide. Reason is guide. Reason is there. Anybody born as a human has a reason. Fine. So if you do not listen to the reason, then you have no other option. Only God does justice. Justice कौन कर सकता है? God. Can we link justice with sympathy? Is justice sympathy? No. Is justice cruel? Yes. Justice is cruel. Justice is not sympathy, empathy, compassion. Only rational person can do justice, not emotional. God does justice. Fine. So justice is a divine idea. God does justice. Don't consider, आप मर्सी पेटिशन कह सकते हो, लेकिन इसका मतलब ये थोड़ी आपने क्राइम नहीं किया. तो जस्टिस ये कहता है कि यू शुड गेट द कैपिटल पनिशमेंट. आप अपील कर सकते हो फॉर मर्सी. ठीक है, लेकिन मर्सी को जस्टिस नहीं बोला जाएगा. तो जस्टिस, व्हाट इज जस्टिस? We often get confused between justice and other terms. So Plato as a philosopher will explain the real meaning of justice. And what is the purpose of philosophy? To demystify the things, fine, to remove confusions. So if you will study philosophy, the purpose is conceptual clarity. अब abstract essays क्यों आते हैं? क्या चेक करते हैं? How much depth of knowledge you have, how much conceptual clarity, or it is just a superficial memorization of facts and elaboration of GS answers, or you are taking time and thinking. Okay, so studying classics not easy. Because it is not easy, we call it hermeneutics. Hermeneutics means God is sending message. Means if we want, we can understand the truth, but it is not everybody's cup of tea to deconstruct the message of God. So we rely on the messengers of God. Fine. So there are some who are recognized as the messengers of God. Fine. And common man may not understand. So you have no option but to trust the messenger. आप faith रखते हो, आप believer हो. ठीक है, क्योंकि आपको और हर इंसान messenger of God नहीं. ठीक है, तो God has some persons who are the chosen few. Fine. So rest have no option but to listen to them. इसी को कहते हैं faith. तो जो फिलोसोफर है वो रीजन से जाता है. जो मास है उसके पास फेथ के अलावा ऑप्शन नहीं. ठीक है, क्योंकि मास के पास रीजन नहीं है, तो वो गॉड की बातें समझ नहीं पाएगा। इसीलिए आपको क्या लगता है? गाइड। फाइन, हु कैन गाइड यू टू deconstruct the message? So you have no option but to trust the guide. ठीक है? So for you I am acting as a messenger of Plato. Fine. And you don't have option but to keep faith. This is, all knowledge is faith. Means no knowledge is ultimate truth. ठीक है? तो मानो तो देवता और नहीं मानो तो पत्थर। हम ये मान के चलते हैं कि हमें पता है। ठीक है? ये हमको मानना है। दिस इज आवर एजम्पशन। इसीलिए अब थियोरी वर्ड नहीं यूज किया जाता है। नाउ द वर्ड इज यूज्ड इज एजम्पशंस। जैसे क्वेश्चन ये आता है, ये नहीं आता गिव थियोरी ऑफ रियलिज्म। दे विल से व्हाट आर assumptions of realism। तो भाई कुछ समझ पाए कि टॉर्चर टाइप लग रहा है, हैवी जा रहा है, नहीं जा रहा, you're trying to impress। हाँ, हैवी तो जाएगा ही, टाइम्स जा रहा है। So I think we will finish here. If you have any question, then ask. So what you do, make a list of the topics we have done. Go and do some thinking and see if you can explain it to somebody. तो पॉलिटिकल साइंस कैसे पढ़ी जाती है? कैसे पढ़ी जाती है? किताबों से नहीं पढ़ी जाती। बोलना होगा आपको, किसी को पकड़ना होगा, उसके ऊपर ज्ञान झाड़ना होगा। फाइन। तो किसी को अपना विक्टिम बनाओ। तुम्हारे मन में वो विक्टिम है, लेकिन तुम उसको कहो दोस्त हो तुम, है, लेकिन बहुत विश्वास से कहो कि उसको लगे दोस्त है। उसको ले जाओ चाय की दुकान पे। चाय की दुकान पे ही पॉलिटिकल साइंस समझी जा सकती है, और चाय की दुकान से ही इंसान एक सक्सेसफुल पॉलिटिशियन बनता है। हाथ कंगन को आरसी क्या है, इसलिए हमने नीचे चाय की दुकान खुलवाई हुई है। सही बता रहे हैं, और कोई तरीका नहीं है पॉलिटिकल साइंस पढ़ने का। तो जल्दी से एक लिस्ट लिखो, घर जाके सोचो कि क्या हम इसे समझा सकते हैं। पहला लिखो, व्हाट इज पॉलिटिकल। Why political science is Eurocentric? Who is a philosopher? Why political science is Eurocentric? Who is a philosopher? Next. What is the difference in philosophy and mythology? Is philosophy mythology? Is philosophy mythology? Yes. Theoretically नहीं, प्रैक्टिकली सब माइथोलॉजी है। माइथोलॉजी मतलब मिथ्स है ना, कोई फिलोसफर है थोड़ी, सब स्टोरी टेलर्स हैं। ठीक है। नेक्स्ट, इज इट राइट टू कॉल पॉलिटिकल साइंस साइंस? What is the difference in philosophy and ideology? what is the purpose of studying classics? What difficulties do we face in studying classics? Next, what are language games? Next, what is truth to power? What is the difference in philosophical theory and scientific theory? Anything else with it? What is hermeneutics? Next, what is the meaning of read between the lines? फिलॉसफी को हिंदी में क्या बोलते हैं? दर्शन। उर्दू में या अरबिक में? फलसफा। दैट इज अ मोर साइंटिफिक वर्ड, मतलब स्टोरी। प्लेटो को क्या बोलते हैं अरबिक में? नहीं, फिलॉसफी को फलसफा कहते हैं, प्लेटो को भी थोड़ी फलसफा कहते हैं। अरबिक वर्ड जो है प्लेटो का वो है अफलातून। तो अक्सर ये कहा जाता है बड़े अफलातून बन रहे हो, मतलब ज्यादा इंटेलेक्चुअल ना बनो, ज्यादा फिलोसफर ना बनो। ठीक है, तो नेक्स्ट क्लास में वी विल सी अफलातून का फलसफा इन द वर्ड्स ऑफ शुभ्रा। ठीक है, थैंक यू।